Doing the live video like I promised. Yesterday, I posted something that got me in trouble a little bit with a friend. I mean, she's a good friend, but ultimately to me, a lot of people don't see the full spectrum of things that's going on. So, what I wanted to do was to go ahead and bring things up. Now, the thing I posted yesterday, controversial, yeah, but it's not really controversial because it's things I've noticed for like a long time now, over the past few years. And I bring up things all the time on my feed, and you probably see it looks kind of sporadic about this and that and this and that. Well, the reason why I do that is to show the multiple levels of control. The most important thing that people need to understand is what holds our society together is social contracts. Various levels of social contracts. You get into your car, you pass your driver's license, you have a social contract that, hey, I'm going to stay on this side of the lane, I'm going to abide by these rules we've laid out for each other so that we don't go ahead and crash into each other and kill other people. There's many social contracts that go into building society. And once we start to break down social contracts and structures, society starts to destabilize itself. And we've been destabilizing our society for a while. And this leads to many types of weaknesses. So, hey, what's up, David? It's important for us to actually sit back and look at these things. Now, what I posted yesterday was this: lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and pedosexual. People are like, oh, you can't make up that word. This isn't a thing. The LGBT community would not support this. Trust me, I know 100% that none of my friends in the LGBTQIA society support that at all. I completely get that. That's actually, that makes sense. But there's a reason why these things keep on popping back up underneath them, and it's because of the ever-accepting protocols of the LGBT community. It's going to allow and facilitate the thought to start to happen, to allow sexuality to come about. Before we go into that, I'm going to go ahead and actually show you another video that I found on YouTube. With the guy has plenty of points, and I was going to say the points myself, but it's just easier to go with this and have someone else go over it instead of trying to come off my head like right off the bat. So, and you listen to it and pay attention to how you recoil to certain statements and how you respond to it, it's because of conditioning that has been happening inside society for you to see these things. So you got to open your eyes to how you're being controlled and how we're being manipulated into actually following along with these things, the way our society is going. And we honestly have to decide, when is enough enough? Check this out.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with pedophilia. Oh my goodness. Now, if some of you felt some discomfort with the statement I said earlier, well, then you're a hateful bigot. Why, you ask? Well, precisely for the fact that there's nothing they can do about it. They're absolutely born that way. And for the other side, when it comes to a child, well, if a child young as 12 can choose what gender they want to be and actually apply for gender reassignment surgery, then who are you to put a restraint on, the beautiful thing as love? Who are you to dictate who that person should and shouldn't be able to love?
Yeah, it is everywhere.
Oh my goodness. That, my friends, is not that far from happening. For example, if you take a look at homosexuality and the process it's gone through to normalize that behavior, in a sense, it's the same process that's going to be taking place for everything else. It's led to, this normalization of genders, where now we currently have over 500 and something different genders. The LGBT, how they've basically indoctrinated our children into the textbooks, into how they did it on TV to normalize that lifestyle. Hey, these people aren't weird or anything. These are really nice people. And the same methodology that was applied to that I guarantee it's going to be applied to pedophilia. Probably not under a Trump administration, but you best believe they're now planting seeds. We can honestly see this in Hollywood itself. There's been several actors who've come out, who've spoken out against this, pedophilia within Hollywood. We can clearly see that with, Meryl Streep and everyone applauding a convicted pedophile.
Now, we'll pause it right there because I want to go back over and actually talk about some of the things she's bringing up. If a kid is able to decide at 12 that they are no longer that gender and that they're able to change their gender, well then what's to stop them from saying that they don't want to be with an older person? I mean, it's pretty simple. If a person says that they are 12 and they're a male biologically and they want to become a female, what is going to stop them from changing over? You can let them change over. So if they say they want to get older, they can get older. And another thing, I don't know if you all seen it, but I'll go back to this video in a moment. This guy right here.
Something I could do. It'd be like telling me to stop being,
This guy.
6'2" or
You know
leave.
who he is?
And I was who I was.
This guy right here is a trans age man. He's 65 and
for a guy. And so by coming completely out of the closet, it just liberated me to the point where let's do this, let's talk about it, and let people know that this is okay. 2007.
Is that okay? He is 65 and he acts like a 6-year-old girl. Is that actually okay? You see? And then the kids are going to start playing around with him. Well, we already know priests get corrupted and they have sex with the children. Do you understand how that works psychologically? That you're sitting there with the person all the time and you start to feel a sort of love towards them. And then over time that love mutates itself because it's going to start to become sexual inside of nature with the person, especially whenever it's not your own kid or something. And you see them grow up and mature. And then you have these lusts inside of you that because you're still an animal that take over. These things are happening. And we oh, well, yeah, it's the priest. We just brush it aside. No, it's not just the priest. You can look at their mindset and what happens to see how they get turned psychologically. Look at all the teachers that are having sex with students. It's the same thing. We're just prosecuting them because they're teachers, but the other ones over here, they're priests and they're untouchable. Thank you, Vatican. So, you have to really look at where we're going. I'm not against the community at all. But you really have to understand what's being programmed into us, what's being laced in. Now, back to this guy.
At the Oscars, I believe. Now, for some of you guys out there, I'm sure this is quite the pill to swallow, but you just want to have your eyes open about this, because I guarantee that's what's going to happen, and that's going to be the same argument that you're going to be facing. And people are in fact just born with a natural inclination to be attracted to those of a younger age. Well, who are you to say that's wrong? Who are you to do anything about that? And then that brings into case, well, if they're born that way, well, then why is the age restriction 18? Why is it 18 an adult when in some places it's actually younger than that? So you're going to have that fight for age restriction, you have that fight for normalizing pedophilia, and that's what's going to happen. So just this.
Now, with the age restriction, you have 12-year-olds, right? Why is my light on? Turn that light off. Don't be dumb. No. Now, with the age restrictions, you have 12-year-olds, right? These, what is it? Technically, that's whenever they hit their point where they have their moon blood cycle. They start to actually become fertile. This is why back in the past, our ancestors, or not our ancestors, but ancestors, the people before, they ended up actually marrying children when they're young. This is why this practice still exists inside places inside the world, where once you hit sexual maturity, you're considered to be an adult, and therefore now you are able and capable of actually. I don't know what's going on. Now you're able and capable of actually deciding what's going, what you should do, what you are, if you're able to get married or not at that age. So it's kind of really... What did I do with this live stream thing? Sorry guys, I messed up my live stream. I'm trying to go back. No, that's not right. Well, anyways, fuck it. I'll just keep on going. What's going to limit them? What's actually going to limit this? And it's like you said, whenever first inside the DSM-2, whenever homosexuality popped up, it was seen as a disease. Then it became orientation. What they're going to end up doing is working it to where it becomes an orientation. Because we can't stop it, technically. If you go off of the idea and the politics that we're using now, we have very little grounds to stop anything that's happening. Oh, man. And then you also have to sit there and think about it as well. Hollywood has been talking about pedophilia for a long time. We've been seeing children dressed up in two-piece bathing suits doing their beauty queen pageants. You think that doesn't feed a pedophile's mind? And you're putting this on TV. Well, it's everywhere. Like, it's literally, you can see it. Pizzagate popped up. How many people actually looked into Pizzagate and came to understand what was going on inside of Pizzagate? Why citizens were pointing out, hey, this is a handkerchief, a little boy, and that. Most people didn't look at it. You saw it maybe, and you're like, oh, well, this is what they reported on it. It's a big hoax. So let me go ahead and look away from it. You have to think. If there's something that you don't want someone to look at, and you're a little kid, what are you going to do? You're going to deflect it onto something else. You got to think about who controls the media, how these things work. This whole thing has been interlaced throughout society inside multiple areas to start to bring about a decay of Western society. Now, it's not my point to sit up here and try to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and defend society. But we're watching as things are slowly breaking down. When is enough going to be enough? How many people can we sit up here and actually allow to say, oh, well, I'm this, but I feel like this? Once you start to say you feel like this, you're basing things off of emotions. And emotions matter big time inside of our populace. We don't think they do, but they matter big time. All it would take for some type of push for this to happen is if they were to make a TV show of a high school teacher and one of her students. And then, you see them sort of flirt with each other and develop, and you see her go through a conflicted part of her falling in love with a boy that's 8-9 years younger than her or whatever, because, or middle school teacher, whatever. You know how these things go from the stories. And you start to build the emotional attachments and bonds behind it. And so over time, you'll start to have people actually watching these shows. Like, oh, this is a disgusting show. And then other people will be curious about it, and they're going to watch it. And it's going to start to build more people onto the idea of, well, if this is what's happening and their emotions are happening and love is love, well, why can't they do anything about it? Why can't it be allowed? I mean, technically, they should be able to make their own decisions. I mean, we just had 16 to 17-year-olds. We still having kids going around and they're protesting, the guns? Yeah, they're protesting guns, saying that we should take the guns away. We are giving them power to decide who they are, and we're empowering them. This is not saying it's a bad thing. It's good for them to have opinions and to have things developed. But at the same time, for them to demand and try to force these types of laws to be passed is not a good thing. This is how society breaks down as well. And if you want to talk about the shooting, here goes something from the Santa Fe shooting. And I'll show you what I figured on my phone. It's a clip. Now, I'm going to show you some muscles after this that are involved so that you understand exactly what's happening. But check it out.
Shot in the head this morning and is recovering tonight at his home with his family.
It came in this way through the back of my head and then exited right there.
How lucky do you feel?
Yeah. The doctor said that if it would have been any up, any down, any left, any right, that I would have been paralyzed or killed.
Now then, the key part I want you to see. Look at how he's moving his head.
It came in this way through the back of my head and then exited right there.
He's trying to be stiff, but those muscles should be completely seized up because they're like, what, right there in the back neck. That helps control the way you move and turn your head, but it pulls it down, pulls it up, left and right. So that muscle shouldn't be able to turn that way right now unless his adrenaline was really high. But even then, with high adrenaline, that's kind of, I don't know, it's very questionable. Just saying, extremely questionable. I can't 100% go all the way in with the story that's being produced because I see shit like this that pops up. And is it real or not? I don't know. I don't know what the hell to call it. But I'm just saying that's one observation that I've made on how media is used to program us and how we're giving them power. And we're not even paying attention to what's actually going on in the background. Some people, let's see. Now then, this is another thing. This is what's happening over inside the UK. The UK has essentially, and I think it's also California, they passed laws. I think it's called the SB 1322 in Cali. And it allows child prostitutes to get away with being minors. And they don't have to pay any fees or anything like that. And it doesn't show up on the record, I don't believe. So, I mean, I understand that some people have to get into that so they can, you know, take care of themselves. But at the same time, we're having people, by signing that will actually give them a method of freedom if they chose to go down that path, to leave their parents and run away. And there will always be people out there sitting around lurking, watching. We see this in movies. We know this is an actual thing. So why would we make a law that would make it to where it's okay? That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense. And here goes what's happening over in the UK. They're being overburdened with the pedophiles. There's so many of them. It's too many to arrest. It's putting the system underneath a strain. Okay? Their society is collapsing as well. Like I said, it's a Western society at salt plant. It has many different places that it links together. And I'll try to show it to you over time. That this isn't going to be just a one-time thing. But yeah, watch.
That low-risk paedophiles shouldn't be sent to jail.
Chief Constable Simon Bailey says lower-level offenders should be given counselling and rehabilitation instead. He joins us now. Good morning to you. Front page of the Times newspaper this morning. What do you mean by this? And some people concerned that perhaps this gives the wrong message.
Well, I think there's a very clear message that I'm giving today. The police service, working with the National Crime Agency, has never been so robust in this field. We are arresting over 400 men every month. We are safeguarding over 500 children every month as a result of targeting those people that would view indecent imagery of children. But the fact is, we are simply becoming inundated with a number of referrals that we are having to deal with, and the number of cases that our child protection teams are now having to cope with. And we have sophisticated risk assessment tools that I am as confident as I can be will be able to determine whether or not an individual poses a risk of contact abusing a child. And when you look at the number of resources that we now have working within this field, you look at the numbers that we are now having to deal with, I am proposing that we have to take a slightly different approach whereby, and all individuals will still be arrested, but there are alternative solutions rather than putting these people through the court system, who are now dealing with between 40 and 50% of all their time are unfortunately allegations of sexual abuse. Cases are taking too long to come to court, and we have to look at an alternative whereby those individuals that we assess as posing little risk to children of contact abuse have to attend some form of rehabilitation course, have to attend a course whereby they are...
Question, how do you rehabilitate them? Can you rehabilitate a gay person? No, you can't rehabilitate a gay person. And to say that inside today's society is actually what? That's whoa. Don't do that. We tried that before, electroshock therapy to get the gay out of them. Can't do that. Ooh, don't do that. So, as you can see, we're setting ourselves up for stuff, and UK is already dealing with it. They're sitting up here and they can't handle the pedos that are breaking out everywhere. It's horrible. So why are they choosing to align themselves or try to align themselves with the LGBT community? And before you think that I'm someone against them, you have to come to understand this. The way I view life is the person looking at my eyes is the same person in your eyes, the same person inside of an ant, inside of a bird, a god, an alien, a demon. It doesn't matter. The main thing that's looking out. It's just all these different layers we put on to identify ourselves with. So, I mean, when you're in a body, you sit up here and think, oh, well, I'm a black person, so obviously I'm black. But that's not what you are, because you're looking at physical manifestation. The same way you look at male or female, you're neither of those. That's only assigned to you in your body for what you have to do for reproduction purposes. As far as mentally, everyone is about the same. Now, of course, male and female have some difference inside the way that we process, but at the core of us, we're all the same. So I don't really care about, what sex you are, what you do. It doesn't really matter to me. But I have to draw the line at, okay, this might not be exactly the way we want to go with society. Because of this, you can't rehabilitate these types of people. They'll start saying that there's a genetic expression of this that happens. Now, mind you, genes don't control you. There's a control above the genes called epigenetics, and you can turn on and off your genes and what manifests based upon how you interact with reality. Dr. Bruce Lipton has actually proven this and shown the science behind it and how your DNA changes over time due to the way you perceive things, inside of the way we give ourselves cancer. So if a person starts to perceive themselves as liking children, if they found a genetic marker for it, maybe that genetic marker would express because of the initial perception, and it wasn't the other way around. So that's another thing to look at when it comes to this. It's the banner of equality. It's the banner of everything being equal. That banner is actually a thing that they're pushing it behind, of all acceptance. I'll go back to this guy's pedo video and let him finish out talking. But then I'm really trying to cover this, that there's something that's wrong and that it keeps on popping back up. We know that they have pedophilia inside Hollywood. We know that there's pedophilia inside high places. Allison Mack from Smallville has actually ever talking about different levels of elites and pedophiles. Supposedly, in order to get the control over the politicians, they have them go ahead and sleep with children and take photos and videos of this stuff. In secret, they lure them into it to set up a trap and use it for blackmail. So, you wonder why nothing gets done or why certain people don't step out of line. It's because of a certain control system that's being established underneath it. You see a lot of politicians have good intentions at first, and then you notice that they just kind of just stop. Once they get in office, they make all their promises, and you see them, they're new, they're fresh, and then all of a sudden nothing changes. What's happening there? Why is it happening? What was held against them? We hear about people being blackmailed all the time with photos of their children or threats and stuff like that. So there's a lot going into this, especially at that level, like the governmental level. There are pedos in the government. You can go ahead and look it up online. The UK had a problem with it too. I mean, there's a lot of people going on. Pizzagate was a big thing to start showing the pedos that are in the government and the way that they talk. And if you're not paying attention to the way that the language is going on, you don't know the lingo, you go ahead and go out and educate yourself on it and then look through Hillary's emails. And some of the things they say talking about handkerchiefs, like what does a handkerchief have to do with that? But like you see like a Haitian special, a little extra cheese. Well, obviously it's a Haitian, and cheese is a little girl, so extra cheese means really, really young is what this person's ordering. When they're affiliated with James Alefantis, which is affiliated with the Clinton campaign. There's all types of stuff that's tied up into this that you really should watch. As far as the pedo thing goes, back to this dude's video, I'm gonna go ahead and let him explain why. It's like underneath the banner of love is love, we're setting ourselves up to be destroyed. It's pretty simple. Like our society is going to start to become really unstable.
It's just a
tries to prepare you guys what I definitely foresee happening in the future. Oh my goodness. And that's exactly what many people on, Republicans and those on the conservative side were warning against. That this would eventually lead to the floodgates opening of very controversial subjects being allotted and being legalized. And that, my friends, is where we're going to see the breakdown of what we know today as marriage. Because why does it have to be till death do us part? Why can't it be a contractual arrangement? Why can't I marry this person for 1 to 2 years, see if I like it? If I don't, it's done. It's null and void. I go on with my rest of my life, or I get in another contract with someone else. Why there's, why are we going to have to wear a ring? What does that really symbolize? There's going to be many other things that are going to be brought up and questioned. Well, why is this? Why is that? Why that? And you know what? That's where it's going to lead to. Why does it have to be one person? Why does it have to be complementary sex? And so, well, now it doesn't. I can marry anyone I choose to. Well, now, why does it only have to be 2 people? Why can't I marry if I'm truly in love with 3 people, and those 3 people, those other 2 people are truly in love with me? Why are you denying us that right? Why are you denying us that ability to love each other equally? Do you not love all of your children equally? So why can't we apply that to my couple, to my relationship with these 3 people, or these 2 people? Oh my goodness. I'm telling you guys think I'm crazy. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. And the only thing is, and the craziness about that is, if you rationalize this, if you validate it off the pure and utter basis of love, well then, how do you restrict love? Long story short, you can't. Now, the reason many of this hasn't happened yet is that there's not enough people behind the cause. Now, once we get enough people, once they have massed enough people, enough talking heads around this cause, well, it'll sure be passed, as everything else has been passed. Polygamy, that's going to be passed, because there's nothing to stop it. There's absolutely, literally nothing to stop it.
He's
And
right.
if
There's
you can
nothing
validate,
to stop it.
like I said, off the notion of love, well, then who's to say that, a mom and a son can't marry, or a daughter and brother can't marry, as long as they don't have children? And I mean, nowadays, contraceptives, who are you to limit their love?
Is there anything wrong with gay marriage?
No,
There's nothing weird about that, do you think?
no, let people love.
As long as they're consenting adults?
Yeah, of course.
That's fine, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any problem? Would you think it would be weird if one of your friends was having sex with their sister?
How does that relate?
Well, they're 2 consenting adults, so we're just using liberal logic if you think that it's totally normal to have homosexual relations.
I hate the idea, but if both are happy with it and they don't have any kids, then, sure, I don't see a huge problem with it.
And there's people out there who completely agree with this, because you have to. Because if you don't, well, then we have conflicting messages. First, you say it's okay for love, but not love between these 2 people, 2 consenting adults. So that's the beautiful thing, and that's the harmful thing of this ideology, is that once you agree to it, you have to go 100%. You have to be consistent with that belief. And you know what? That's going to lead to some very interesting and controversial subject matters coming up this next decade, I would say. Not while Trump's in office, but once Trump gets out of office, we're in for a load of surprises. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. Whether or not you...
Now, you see what he's talking about. He's right. There is nothing to stop it. If it's 2 consensual adults, by the rules of society, we have no place to step in and say, no, that's wrong. That's between brother and sister. Well, once we get to a point of understanding that these kids, as we give them more power and more understanding, it's for them to control their own sexuality. I mean, they can get their sex changes. They can do all this stuff already. They obviously know what they like. So they can, if they know that they like the other gender, or that they are the other gender, then that means that they should also know that they are attracted, what gender they're attracted to as well. Or you can guess that they would know. But then again, as I say, gender is what you feel inside. So you could be a male living as a female that feels like a chick, but that should be a dude. Like, there's all types of ways you can jump it together and make your new pronoun So it's dangerous stuff we're playing with. We're playing with really dangerous ideologies right now. And that's why they're trying to attach themselves to the LGBT community. They are trying to. And I'm glad my friend spoke out and was like, no one would believe that. I was going to go with that. But you also got to think about this. Most people don't know about ElsaGate. Do you know about ElsaGate? ElsaGate, some shit. Like, YouTube videos for kids that have weird sexual content inside of there. And it's like they're dressed up like Spider-Man or like Elsa or like the Joker is common themes. And it's your kids are watching this. They go on YouTube, they get on their tablet, and they go through these videos. And it seems harmless, but it's not harmless. It's like an underground programming type thing that goes on. Because there are ways you can mentally program a person. I guess I'll have to talk about MK Ultra at some point in time and how that was actually a CIA project. A lot of these things that people call conspiracy theories aren't actually conspiracy theories. There's something behind them, and people are just trying to investigate it and bring it to other people's attention that, hey, this is going on. And then most people are like, no, it's not real. No, man, I can't look at that. You're just another one of those crazy conspiracy theories. Why would you say that? Why won't you look into the information? Why won't you attack things from all angles? Because nothing is ever exactly what it seems. And if you go around thinking that everything is as you think it is, you limit yourself on what you're actually able to accomplish and able to see and predict and project. I mean, you have to know how things respond. That's how these people crash markets. They know how to move your emotions. They play with your emotions. And people say they don't like having their emotions played with. You watch TV for your emotions to be played with. That's the whole point. Any TV show you're watching is your emotions being played with. You get attached to the characters. Like Game of Thrones. Who doesn't hate Joffrey? Tell me. Who doesn't hate that guy? Everyone hates Joffrey. Okay? And you get a strong emotional responses from things like that. And that starts to shape your reality because you have a bunch of chemicals and endorphins released whenever you watch a horror movie and you get out and your body starts having to kind of like shift back to like what you're seeing and perceiving here. It's all based upon what you're taking in from your eyes. It's very important that you pay attention to what you're being programmed by. Why do you think it's called a TV program? Why do you think it's called radio programs? They named program. It's right there. It's like right in the title. It's no hiding what it is and what it's for. And what you consume kind of makes you into what you are. So everyone thinks that maybe I've been going off the deep end, but no, I've been looking into all these little things of whispers because everything always starts as a whisper. It doesn't just blow out. It doesn't come out of nowhere. There's always whispers. Like, for instance, Bitcoin. I bet you didn't know that there's something like Bitcoin that was used on the dark web for people to purchase child porn and stuff like that and be untraceable and everything like that. Yeah. From Bitcoin, that's how that idea originated. It transferred from that currency into something that has value, and they brought it out into the real world, and now it's known as Bitcoin. So nothing just appears out of nowhere. Everything has a whisper or a trail. And you have to look at what the trails are or why these people are doing these things. It's really frustrating whenever people start shutting people down because you're not listening to what they're saying or trying to see the information they've come across. Some people are frantic. They get emotional about this. They're trying to deal with it too psychologically of what's going on inside the world and why isn't anyone else seeing it. Everyone else is wallowing in their own pain, or trying to cover up, or just trying to keep their eyes closed, trying to numb themselves and make it through day by day. We ask ourselves, what are we here for? So these people are doing something behind the scenes. They are using children. They're programming them. Watch. This is something from the YouTube, from what kids can see. It's about ElsaGate.
Where time and time again, characters would present as pregnant and then receive an thousands of these videos are riddled with age-inappropriate content. Whole channels being watched almost exclusively by children are simply masquerading as kids' channels, with videos that begin as something benign and innocuous and innocent, but suddenly insert way more disturbing and markedly sexual content as the videos play on. One of the most consistent adult themes in the Spider-Man and Elsa videos was, oddly enough, abortion, where time and time again characters would present as pregnant and then receive an injection in their stomach, making the baby bump disappear. Here, watch for yourself. This is a mashup from several different YouTube accounts.
Yep, Joffrey has been allowed to show up at cons because of the hatred we feel for him. Look at that. It's a fake show, and we still can't let go.
Age-inappropriate and flat-out weird content that manifests time and time again in these kids' videos includes, well, sexualized content like dry humping and thongs, people eating feces, and really graphic imagery like severed limbs and decapitations, all of which seem to be glorified and accompanied by just playful joy. And what's...
So, who can tell me if they think that affects the way a child sees the world or not? Knowing that we sit up here and we can watch Game of Thrones and be affected by something, sit up here and watch this and be affected by something, and take all these things in, and their minds are young and impressionable. They cannot separate out the truth or reality from things. Hell, most people can't separate out reality, even if you put it right in front of their face. Let's see, Jamie's like, I remember South Park made fun of this, and I had to explain to her 13-year-old why it's inappropriate. She says, why? It's just funny. See, that's what it goes off. It goes off of humor. Yeah, I can see what they're talking about. Like, it's not. The South Park also brought up NAMBLA, and NAMBLA has money going into Washington D.C. I mean, money runs the world. It makes the wheels turn, and South Park brought up NAMBLA. If you pay attention to these shows, like, they bring up things that are hot and trending topics that might be something you want to watch out for later on. But we pass it off as comedy. We make it into a joke game, and that's why we go ahead and we pass things. Like we pass things off. We're kind of conditioned to see it as a joke, as something that can't be really possible. But in all actuality, it can definitely be possible. Especially when these children grow up and they were exposed to this type of stuff when they're a kid. They're going to have different types of feelings and thoughts on the subjects. And this is how you shape the future generations. Because it's not about you. You're stuck. But you can shape them and their opinion. And they'll be the ones that come and overthrow things. That's what's been happening for a while now, right? I mean, a lot of things we grew up with. I remember being gay was a big thing when I was growing up. And then the next thing you know, like, it's become okay. Because the children were the ones showing it. And we're the ones, once we grew up, we had enough oomph to go ahead and get the laws changed. That's exactly what's happening with this type of stuff. They're going to start programming the children to do it beforehand. And then also, this clip had something else inside of here. Let's see. If I can find this weird clip, because it was weird. Oh, man, there's so much weird stuff going on. Let's see. I'm just trying to let y'all know, like, I don't post things for no reason, you know. Some things I do get wrong, I will admit that. But if I'm willing to go in on a debate with you on a subject, more than likely I've been looking into it and seen some stuff that's messed up. or something that we should probably watch out for. And I'm trying to give you links and alert you to things that are happening. Let's go ahead.
And pray before and after the whole thing, because we're going to tell you what those colors mean, because these colors are actual MK Ultra trigger colors. And
this is a weird